We have a lot of nonsense to cover in this video because we are starting to get some of the early reviews for Rings of Power coming out today. We're going to be taking a look at those, but this whole Rings of Power thing is already turning into a total disaster. And just as a reminder, because it's always good to remind yourselves of just how much of a disaster this is going to be, this is the like to dislike ratio for the very first trailer that they put out for Rings of Power 6 months ago. 1.9 million downvotes, almost 2 million downvotes, compared to 130,000 upvotes. This is a total train wreck, as it should be, because this is a pathetic show that has no intention of honoring Tolkien and his legacy. This is also something that I thought was absolutely horrible that Lenny Henry decided to say about the works of Tolkien and everything else. So, Lenny Henry unapologetic about altering J.R.R. Tolkien's works in The Lord of the Rings of Power. We are telling the story now. So this is Lenny Henry, who is playing the Black Harfoot Hobbit character, who apparently is very, very bad to say that these characters are hobbits, that Harfoots are hobbits. You can't say that, they're not hobbits. But, you know, we know what they're trying to do. We know what Rings of Power is trying to do here. So, let's see what he actually has to say here. He explained that it has everything to do with modern identity politics. Yep, saying that's to do with it being the 21st century. People want to see themselves. Literally no one has ever said that about Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is one of the most translated books of all time. It's like over 60 different languages that it's translated to. It is literally all over the world. Lord of the Rings is literally read by pretty much everyone around the world, regardless of skin color, background, belief system, gender, all of these different things. It doesn't matter. Lord of the Rings is one of the most popular books of all time that almost anyone can relate to because of his timeless messages. What he is saying here is complete bullshit. Henry then pointed out that what Prime Video is doing is not depicted in the books that he read himself and to his daughter when she was young. Of course, if you go back, there's going to be that thing that prevails because the books don't say, although some of the characters are described as hard-skinned and dark in her complexion. Nevertheless, he then declares, but that was then, this is now, and we are telling the story now. Which is literally the mindset that everyone has who is part of the woke communist agenda that is taking place in, all of the Western countries right now, where they want to take history, especially in America here, they want to take history, our history, and completely rewrite it because they are telling the story now. It's ridiculous. Henry was the first to confirm that he was playing. Okay, so you guys get the picture. He has no interest in respecting the works of Tolkien, or nobody does who's really involved with this. So this is what the score is currently for Rings of Power on Rotten Tomatoes. 21 critic ratings. It is at a 93% right now. It is going to go down from there for sure. But right now, as it sits, there are two rotten reviews for Rings of Power. Very pretty. This is coming from Grace Randolph. Grace Randolph gave it a rotten. That's saying something when you have Grace Randolph giving the show a rotten review. Very pretty, but also very bland. That's pretty much how a lot of people are describing. Even people that are giving positive reviews for this are saying that it looks good, but that's about all they can really say about it. The show's sweet spot will most likely be audiences who feel House of the Dragon is too adult. 2 episodes in and there's still no clear story, which is a massive complaint by a lot of people. By now, you may be wanting to know what the Rings of Power is about. In a way, I feel the same. The first 2 episodes of the show are full of exposition, unhurried table setting, and character introductions, but not much else. So when you go over to top critics here, they're both fresh, but they don't really seem to be all that positive here. So especially this one. For all the Game of Thrones light feel, its lush production design and the promise of 5 seasons to tell its story makes me think there's potential in this adventure, even if we can't see it yet. And yet somehow that is a positive review. That does not sound like a positive review to me. We have no idea what they're trying to do here. There's potential, but that's about it. We can't really see it yet, but there's potential. That's all they had to give this a fresh review, is that it has potential, maybe. That's pretty sad. That's pretty sad. So as you can see, there are already people that are basically explaining what the show is going to be about. There's emptiness. There's not really any sort of clear direction that the story is going in and all of that type of stuff. And then you have this review coming from Entertainment Weekly. Lord of the Rings of Power review. Amazon's prequel is kind of a catastrophe. Yikes. Yikes. There are ways to do a prequel, and Lord of the Rings of Power does them all wrong. That is tragic. It takes 6 or 7 things everyone remembers from the famous movie trilogy, adds a water tank, makes nobody fun, teases mysteries that aren't mysteries, and sends the best character on a pointless detour. The latter is Uber Elf Galadriel, who spends the premiere telling people to worry about Sauron. In response, people tell her not to worry about Sauron. That's 1 hour down, 7 to go this season. Sounds like $1 billion yet? That is an epic roast, and honestly, respect to Entertainment Weekly for taking this stance. And of course, you have all of the pathetic other people out there, like The Guardian, who is just going insane with this headline here. This is one of the most pathetic headlines I've seen in a long time. The Lord of the Rings of Power review, so astounding, it makes House of the Dragon look amateur. Rebecca Nicholson. How much do you want to bet she has pronouns in her bio? With that being said, let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. We're going to continue to monitor this disaster as it starts to unfold over the next couple of days. With that being said, thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.